Look, at Strasbourg 2 days ago, there were an army of policemen deployed right in front of the European Parliament against farmers. They were ready to fight farmers. And the government or Europe generally cannot deploy these policemen or this army against, for example, illegal migrants. And this is what I find ridiculous and illogical in European policy.
The EU declares ridiculous and outrageous norms and regulations for running farms. And of course, there is the overall 15% reduction that the EU is claiming in farmlands, which of course, at a time when you're trying to feed the world, is totally ridiculous. And at the meantime, they're signing free trade agreements to import from the other side of the world. We import €1 meat from Argentina and maybe next year from New Zealand. And we basically go shopping all around the world wherever we can find the cheapest produce. That's the globalist EU vision. And opposed to that is our vision, which is a sovereign vision, which says we first need to defend and defend our own farmers. They are structurally important to our country.
What is your assessment of the ongoing situation in terms of that and how it affects farmers in your country?
I think this is a very specific situation for Eastern European countries, as you mentioned, Slovakia, Poland, Hungary and Romania specifically, because we are neighboring Ukraine. And I know that in Western countries the approach is different. They want to help Ukraine, but in our countries we perceive it otherwise, because the cheap grain from Ukraine is really threatening and destroying our agriculture. Those farmers in Ukraine, they are not obliged to follow such high rules, such high standards, so they are able to import, or from their point of view to export, cheap and less quality grain to European countries. And this is really destroying our farmers, our agriculture.
But it goes beyond that. It has to do with food security, and it has to do with maintaining national supplies. So I think that if you see, for example, what happened in the Netherlands last year, that the farmers who initiated the movement were supported then by the rural communities. And when they went to the towns to explain to people how important it was to maintain our own food channels, what happened is that people understood everywhere and actually voted out the government, the Dutch government. They actually redefined the power balance in the Netherlands.
I think the problem is all around Europe. It's not only one country as we saw it, so it's a structural problem actually, and it has to be solved structurally on the European level as well. When we see that the European Union, European Commission is giving a billion of euros to Ukraine, that they are feeding millions of illegal migrants in EU, but they still do not have enough money, for example, to support our farmers, to support them in food production, so they can feed our families, our countries, and this is something which has to be changed.
I think that's exactly what's going to take place in the next EU election. I think that's exactly the subject, the crucial subject, is do we want a globalist Europe which imports and which doesn't defend this, which thinks it can go shopping all over the world, or do we say each nation state has the right to an agricultural exception, has a right to defend its own traditions, its own food supplies, its own agricultural structure. And that is the vision, of course, that I support. And I think it will be very interesting. I think we will see a great shift in the balance of power within the EU, because we see all over Europe that people, not only farmers, but the people, the citizens of the nation, the member states, are against this globalist view that the EU is trying to force upon them.
But to summarize, look, this election term was run mostly by liberals, by progressive, by leftists, and the things are not working well, to be very polite. What we have to make in the future is to bring a difference. It means to cooperate, to show that we are able to talk, we are able to cooperate in the future, and to bring a difference to Europe, so to Europe listen more to the people, not to the corporate lobbyists or NGOs or foreign interest, but to the interest of European citizens. This is the most important thing for me.